Welcome to Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, the podcast that gives you an unfiltered behind-the-scenes look at what it's really like being a woman in the middle who's over 50 and following her entrepreneurial dreams. Grab a superhero cape, girlfriend, because you deserve one. I'm your host, Master Certified Life Coach and Midlife Mentor, Suzy Rosenstein, and I am excited to inspire you with interviews that feature all of this midlife amazingness. Let's go. Hey there, welcome back to the show. We have another really exciting interview ahead of us about being an intuitive business strategist and psychic business mentor. Today, you'll be meeting Patricia Ferreira, a woman in the middle entrepreneur who's most passionate about helping women find the sacred sweet spot where all the versions of who they are shine and live out their highest trajectory. Welcome to the show, Patty. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Suzy. I love that intro.
Patty and I are having a great time over here because I flubbed her intro a couple of times. And I'm like, first I said her name wrong, then I said something else wrong. Anyway, we're on a roll now. It's all good. I know we're going to have a great conversation about your midlife entrepreneur story. We're going to be talking about your business and what's going really well, and also what midlife issues might be getting in your way a little bit, a hiccup here or there, and might be challenging for you in your life as well as a business owner. So let's get started with asking you to tell us a little bit about how old you are, how long you've been an entrepreneur, and of course, what you do in the world. Take it away.
Yes. Well, thank you. I enjoyed every minute of the intro.
Fantastic.
Okay. So the first and most important question is, I think, how old I am in this lifetime. I am 57. I'm going to be 58 in December. So it's like a huge, I think, shift for me in terms of age. And I am a business strategist and catalyst. What I do is I help women tap into their power, and I help them combine the strategy work with mindset work and energy work in order to get to the next level, whatever that next level is for them. I work with leaders, entrepreneurs, and most of the time, the women that work with me are feeling like they've reached a certain level of success in their life. They've got the accolades, the achievements, all the things that we go for in the first half of our life. And they really didn't tap into the level of fulfillment and satisfaction that they're seeking. So they don't want to create a life where the house of cards comes falling down. They want to build on top of that. So tapping into the energy work and the mindset work, a lot of the conditioning at this stage in their life is what allows them to get to that higher level. So I love doing that because I am my own first client. That's what happened to me. Those are the things that created an awareness of me running frequencies and energetics and behaviors and beliefs that were very much guided towards achievement and success and accolades, and not as much guided to my true purpose, my true passions, and the things that would get me to fulfillment. So here I am creating a life out of that.
That's amazing. Now, when it happened to you, what did you notice was off? Why did you look inward to solve a problem?
Well, the first thing I want you to know, Suzy, is that why did I look inward took a lot for me to even look inward. I have what I call a very high resistance to pain. So all the things that were happening to awaken me and to help me, realize that I was being derailed and on the wrong track, I was looking at them as a challenge and a way to keep going and things to keep moving forward towards. So I can tell you what I felt the whispers were that I ignored.
Yeah.
And I can tell you what was the thing that just like knocked me off my throne, right? So in the beginning of my awakening, which was, I want to say early 40s, right? I experienced a divorce. I experienced losing my entire business, which created bankruptcy situations, foreclosure. We're talking about 2012, around 2009, 2012, when we were doing the recession. I'm living out all these experiences. And in my mind, as a very masculine driven, ambitious woman, I was like convincing myself that I've got this and I could take this and then some and just like keep going, right? Like shaking off my skirt and moving towards the next thing, right? Like really looking at it as a challenge. And then my mother got diagnosed with breast cancer.
Mm.
And from 2012 to from 2009, actually, to 2015, we were dealing with breast cancer. Her last 3 years, I was caring for her. And in that role of caretaker, I started to tap into things that would allow me to fill my cup as I was caring for her. That would allow me. And I started to tap into things like yoga, meditation for the first time ever, right? And once my mom passed, that was when it was just a wave that I could not keep myself above water, right? The entire experience was very humbling. I had literally an existential crisis, like asking myself, like, who am I? What are the things that matter? I couldn't even get behind the wheel of my car. My panic attacks were like so
Wow.
visceral. And this was shocking because, you're talking to a woman that's been in corporate America at that point for about 30 years. I was running like 35 countries in the whole Latin America region. I had more than 200 people reporting to me, like boss lady moves.
Wow. Yeah.
Literally
Yeah.
sitting in my home office.
It feels like you were managing so well.
Yeah.
Like the old mindset was like, yeah, this is what we do. Look at me. I'm managing all of this until you're not.
It totally took me off guard. I didn't even know who I was. And it was like tears and no inspiration to do anything. And yes, I was grieving, but there was also something else happening, right? There was something much more profound happening to me as an individual, right? And it was very much the beginning of my awakening. So that was a moment where it all began. And I could say that's where I really started to listen. And I was able to then realize that all those other moments before were intended to create the awakening. I just ignored them, right?
Yeah. Wow. The other thing that I love that you mentioned in your notes is this concept of fempreneurship.
Yes.
Can you tell me why that word was so carefully chosen?
Yeah, for me, fempreneurship is a very, very sacred term because I feel like we get to create our businesses from a place of harmoniously blending all the parts of who we are, right? A lot of my conditioning was to put on a mask and act as if and show up, right? In the version that others needed in order to get either a seat at the table or get heard or get doors opened, right? And for me, fempreneurship is a very personal experience. I believe that when a woman signs up for entrepreneurship, she is on the down low, signing up for personal development and awakening.
Yes, Patty. Yes, I agree with you completely.
So whether you know it or not, whether it's a blind spot, whether it's subconscious, once you say yes to that nudge of entrepreneurship, you're saying yes to opening up and getting to work around your relationship with yourself, your harmoniously blending of your masculine and your feminine, all the ancestral and multi-generational things that hold us down or keep us small, things like scarcity, visibility, having a voice, showing up and asking for your worth. So fempreneurship is that experience where a woman is going to say, enough of this. It's my time to build a life based on my desires. And it's going to require the true version of her, which it may be the first time a woman ever says yes to something like that.
Definitely.
Right?
And what I love about this too, especially for women over 50,
Yes.
it's bound to happen. You're bound to also get a nudge because of aging, because of your mindset around aging, because of what else in the world and in your body goes on with aging. And so I would say your existential crisis was right on track, because it's so likely to happen, to be asking about reinvention, reimagination, who am I really, all that identity stuff. It's very common.
Yes. And for me,
women our age,
especially at our age. So I am a lover of knowledge and I am a lifetime learner. So for me, it was very important to really get into the consciousness of what was happening to me. And that's when I started to move a little bit towards spirituality, working as a priestess, understanding my role as a spiritual counselor as well. And one of the things that I came into awareness around was our second Saturn return, which happens, our first experience is around 28 to 30. And I remember that time in my life where it was like, I am going to get mine, right? And that's exactly what that experience is about. Like really waking up from the 20-year-old, like just having fun and getting to work. And our second Saturn return is around 58 to 60. And that's when we then wake up from just doership, right? And just putting everyone else first and all the things that keep us running on empty to filling our cup. And we want to fill our cup in a very profound way. We want to contribute. We want to make an impact. We want to show up in our wisdom, right? And that is what's happening when we're aging in a spiritual way, along with the menopause, along with the desire to finally do what we want with our lives. I have 3 children and 5 grandbabies. So when I was turning into my 50s and I started to see how the nest was empty, and now I could really dedicate some time to myself. All these things are happening so that we can support our desire to move upwards and forwards, and so that we can stop ghosting our dreams. Yeah.
Oh, I love how you put that.
So it's a beautiful experience. And for me, it's very important not to do what I did in the past, which was like, leave versions of me behind or leave versions of me in the closet, right? And that is why my work is about combining strategy, the masculine, with mindset and energy work, right? The feminine, so that all the parts of us, right? All the versions of us can come together, sit at the table and create this life, create this experience. So that's what matters to me.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I just love that idea of putting a stop to ghosting our dreams. Using the word ghosting is very interesting. And yeah, I love that. You put that so well. Now, you mentioned some of these midlife challenges. I wondered if you could go into that a little bit more. The timing of your mother's passing of breast cancer was just before your 50th birthday. And, 50 is a milestone. It doesn't show up as the same experience for everybody, but it's jarring for most to some degree. It's common that it causes some reflection or some, waking up a little bit to some extent. And so at that time, did you associate it with your 50th birthday, or was it just too painful? Everything was just terrible with it all going on. Were you aware about the 50 thing?
Oh my God. Was I ever? First of all, my mom and I had built a whole plan around my 50th birthday.
Oh.
We were going to go to the motherland, which we're originally from Dominican Republic. And we were going to celebrate my 50th birthday in the islands with family from there, and family that would come and kind of makes a family reunion with all the beautiful things. So, that dream died the minute we were like in her last cycle with cancer, right? Like it died before I turned 50. Maybe it was like my 49th birthday where we were like, well, we can do something differently, right? So it had that piece, right? When I finally turned 50, I was in that place of, you don't, and I think it really contributed to the shift in my life, the way things are precisely put together, because I was very much able to connect with how quickly things change, right? And that gave me a sense of urgency that was different than the sense of urgency I was running until then, right? In my life. The other piece that I feel I really connected to around my 50th birthday. So when I look at 50th, right, it's a conditioned like mile marker, right? It's a conditioned initiation and rite of passage that society has embedded in us, right? So as a human, we see that as a big deal, even though we know the Saturn return is 8 years later. And at 50, I felt like I was 28 is what I tell people, right? But there is a thing that's embedded socially around this is a big deal. This matters. This is where you kind of check in again and look at how far you've gotten on that list, right? All the things that you've created. And what it did to me was it moved me into this place of victim that I had never been before. Like it was like this woe is me. Like here I am, I'm 50, I don't love everything that I've done up until now in terms of my career, right? Like I was at a place of feeling like I had put all my efforts into something that wasn't really mine, right? I worked for a Fortune 50 company that paid me a lot of money. I was an expat, so you can imagine those delicious packages, right? And they owned me. They owned my time. They owned my travel schedule. So I was sitting in a place of reevaluating all these things from a new metric system that I didn't even recognize.
You know what, Patty? I call it a new midlife operating system.
Yes.
That's kind of how I've been thinking about it lately, is that, we grow up with an operating system that does, like you did well. Until it didn't work for you anymore. And that's because a new midlife operating system is required.
Yes.
Because even if there is a lot of social conditioning around 50 being whatever it is, I like to use the word notable. It's notable because of culture, because of society, for sure. But it doesn't always have to be negative. You had a lot of negative interpretation with it. I found it more jarring and motivating. Yeah. So I hadn't done that reflection. I hadn't done that insight. And it really put a fire under me because of urgency. And because also I've outlived both my parents. They both died when I was a kid. So I grew up with that appreciation that aging is a gift. Like it's not something that everybody can count on. It's a privilege to age. It's a gift to age. So it kind of really, I felt like I wasn't like you. I didn't have that sense of urgency before. It was more vague, but 50 it is a mile marker and it's notable. So yeah, that's so interesting though about that you went into this place of victim.
I love how you say it. Yeah, because for me it was, and that is why it matters to me so much that my work is about meeting a woman where she is.
Yes.
Because everyone is going to have their own little trail that they walk into this cleared path of like 50 awareness, right? For me, first generation American, I am born from immigrant parents. Like they gave up everything to get here. And the message was like, it's your job to make sure that mattered. So my sense of urgency from upbringing came through that whisper, right? That consistent message, like make us proud in a big way. Like I was the perfect daughter. I'm talking about perfect grades, got into all the best schools. I was pre-med when I started university. I got married, had 2 kids, got into like the best companies. I'm talking about check it off, and like really making my parents proud, which was very much what I realize now, part of my conditioning
Yeah.
And a lot of what I was running as ancestral karma, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
now my mother passes at an age where I'm supposed to have arrived with everything, right? Like I made it. I made it. And here we are. I have the career. I have the house. I have the children. I have all the things. And all of a sudden, none of those things mattered to me anymore. My entire nervous system was wondering, right? I call it the in between, right? No longer there and not yet here,
Yeah. Yeah.
or no longer here and not yet there. I was completely in the middle.
Yeah. You're a woman in the middle.
Woman in the middle. And there was another thing besides like the woe is me that was like secretly happening in my system and the internal conversation. There was shame because now I am not able to say that I love and I am happy about all these amazing accomplishments that everyone around me thinks I've got it all. Right. So I looked like a success and felt like a failure and couldn't really share it with anyone because everyone in my circle would be like, girl, you got it. You've made it. You all the things. Right. So that's the piece that I call it secondary shame, where you're like, yes, everyone would be happy to have this. But guess what?
Hmm. Yes. So glad you shared that. And I'm so glad I asked you to go a little deeper about your birthday. Of course, I didn't know what you were going to say. And yeah, that was quite a story. And you said you also dealt with business failures and success, making money, losing money, and now being successful. So some of that stuff was also going on.
Oh, for sure.
In midlife. And it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I've made a lot of money in this lifetime and lost a lot of money in this lifetime. Like I can honestly share that I am on like my third or fourth cycle of upcoming when it comes to finances. And I tell people like I am a money magnet, right? I can attract a lot of money, but it wasn't until I did my scarcity work because I couldn't understand it. I was like, how is it that I can make multiple seven figures? Yeah. And still feel like there's something missing. And there was an embedded belief around being able to make money, but not being able to manage it. So the money would come in and then the other belief would kick in, right?
Now, where do you think that belief came from?
I believe that there's a lot of different things that could stir that belief. First of all, for me as a priestess, I believe that we have certain agreements during this lifetime of things that we are going to reconcile, right? And they show up in our 3D experience in different ways. So for me, the whole couldn't manage it is very much around worthiness, the ability to do it, right? So if I am reconciling a worthiness issue, it's going to show up in all kinds of hot spots. Money being a big one, time being a big one, right? It just depends on what is the point of injury that's going to be most profound. So if I look deep down into it, I think that was it. I believe that, and this is going to get deep. So get ready, Suzy.
I'm ready. I
believe that, so I was brought up in a very matriarchal lineage, and I was brought up in a tribe, right? We lived like tribe. And the women in my family, it was my mother, her three sisters, and my grandmother. They kind of ran the show, right? The decisions, the vision, the thing was kind of led and driven by the women. The men were there. The men were there in support of the women, right? And I honestly believe that it was important for us to start to reconcile our relationship with the masculine and really start to trust that men are here to be in soul sponsorship and in sacred union of us. And I believe that part of my money situations really came through that channel, right? Like, can you become a person that could trust that you can come into relationship with someone else and build with someone else harmoniously?
Very interesting. Very interesting, Patty. And I got through that.
Okay, good.
But you did really.
I was trying to keep everyone with us because I'm really in the weeds with something like that. But it's not as linear.
I see that. Yeah.
You know, but what I do want to say is we are here to reconcile certain injuries or learnings that our entire lineage has ran. And it's going to show up in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I was asked to manage money, and every time I was asked to make like deep money decisions, I did it from it's only me and there's no one else here. And I guess showing up in a lot of ways where I made mistakes was a way of opening up to, it's not only you. Mm-hmm. You can trust others. You can bring others in. You can receive support, right? One of the hardest frequencies for a woman is to learn how to receive. And I think that's what was being taught in that experience with me.
Yeah, you can't see me as a listener, but I'm like a bobblehead over here, just nodding away. So, Patty, you said one thing in your application, the notes to talk to each other right now, that kind of surprises me now that I'm getting to know you. You said that visibility and constant social media pressure is something that has been a bit of, an issue with being an older woman. Tell me a little bit about that, because I'm looking at you, I'm talking to you, I didn't expect to see that here. It comes up a lot with women our age, and I experience it too. So Tell me how it comes up for you.
Oh my God. I am so glad you brought that up, because this is a very unique piece in the work that I do with women, right? Because I also work with women that are above 40 and older. And the thing that I know happened to me, which is what I could share, is I was taught to represent others. I was taught to represent big brands. I was taught to come into the room and give the big speech around the vision that the company had. And I was taught to kind of enroll and engage others, right? And I did a lot of enterprise sales. So it was very much about the benefits, the features, all the things that this big organization with a lot of, reputation and all these things had, right? And then I come into entrepreneurship and it's selling myself.
Everybody's favorite thing to do.
And no longer is there like this 100-and-something-year brand. And I started as that, just me, versus it's me. It's, so I started to do things. I started to feel the stress of the visibility, right? I wanted to build, and this is back in 2015 when I'm doing my first bout as a coach, because I've done entrepreneurship for years before that. But it was always under like businesses that my family ran, or I had a franchise once. So buying into someone else's brand and name, right? Like I truly believe that there was leveraging there. So when I came into fempreneurship, where it's about me and my lived experience and what I have done, and where I was presenting myself as the third grader that's going to teach the first grader, and visibility was difficult. Visibility was something, full self-expression, authenticity, finding my voice, allowing myself to show up as is, right? Not putting on the mask. It's about muscle memory. So I really, I'm very sensitive to that as a huge mindset and energy block for fempreneurs. Yeah. And we're here building the new paradigm.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not going to look like it looked before.
No, that's that new operating system, right? And, as you're saying that, I was reflecting on the first time I saw somebody do something, somebody that I respected. I was in her community. She was a leader, and I was in her business community. And she did something on camera that I thought I could never do that. But I'm glad that she did it.
Yeah.
And even since then, and that was probably 5 or 6 years ago, and since then, there is more authenticity on video coming up I believe, in our communities, right? In the coaching space.
Yes.
Definitely more. But I'm still navigating my own comfort. And
that's the piece that matters. Yes, that's the piece that matters. Everyone's going to have their own level of comfort in visibility.
Yes.
Your authenticity gets to be something that I feel energetically. Even if you're not doing any of that, you get to allow me to experience you, right? Just because you're being authentic. It's not necessarily the channel, because there's so much around like speaking truth and being visible and being transparent and being authentic. And the piece that I want to, people to understand is that you get to decide what is your sacred sweet spot for that.
So good.
Yeah.
So good, Patty. Okay. I could talk to you all day, but I don't want to forget to ask you a very important question.
Okay.
How can people best get a hold of you? Like, what's the best place? Is it a website?
Yes. Well, yeah, you can find me at my website, which is awakenedbosslady.com. You can find me online as the Awakened Boss Lady Coach, which is Instagram and Facebook. You can find me on Amazon. We didn't talk about my book, Suzy, that's coming out on the 21st of July. But
what's it called?
It's called Awaken Your Codes of Self-Love.
Amazing. And of course, everything will be in the show notes, and I'm sure there'll be a mention of your book on your website. So that's great.
It's going to be on the website. This is the draft that I just got printed.
So beautiful. Awaken Your Codes of Self-Love. Amazing.
Yeah. And it's shatter limiting beliefs, low self-worth, and build the confidence to never give your power again. That is what I feel is the common denominator to success with satisfaction. So a lot of juicy pieces on there to help us get to that level.
Patty, like I said, I really could talk to you all day. I'm so grateful that you've come into my world. I look forward to keeping connected, and I just really love what you're doing. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, and I'm sending you a lot of love and light.
Thank you. Okay, that is it for now. If you're listening and loving what you hear, please like and subscribe. Reviews are great too and much appreciated. And if you're a woman in the middle who's 50 or over and an entrepreneur and would also like to come on the show, please go to www.midlifeinterviews.com and fill out an application. We'd love to have you on to share your story. Thanks so much for listening. It's never too late for you to put yourself on your agenda. I'm Suzy Rosenstein, and I'll talk to you again soon. Now, real quick before we say goodbye, if you are connecting with this show, I'd love to invite you to a happiness breakthrough coaching session. It's my laser-focused coaching call that will help you get clear about what's getting in your way as a woman in the middle entrepreneur and confident about your next steps to more happiness in your next chapter. Head over to www.nextchapterbreakthrough.com. Talk to you soon.